There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. You hold on. Let me bow to you. Thank you. You may be seated. Honorable members, settle down. Settle down. Honorable Papo, Honorable Jane, please take your seats and settle down. Let's continue to stay in our designated places and keep our masks on there in the House. The first item on the order paper is a motion in the name of the Chief Whip of the Majority Party. I now recognize the Honorable the Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Honorable Deputy Speaker, I move that the House revives the report of the Portfolio Committee of Trade, Industry and Competition on the request by the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition to make recommendations on suitability of candidates for position of the chairperson of the National Lotteries Board, as tabled on the ATC on that set date, 17 March 2021. So that and this matter be referred to the committee for further consideration. I so move, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections?
Please note the objection of the Democratic Alliance, Deputy Speaker.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We'll do that. No objections. Oh, objections noted. The motion is agreed to. The next item on the order paper is member statements. Does any member of the ANC wish to make a statement? Ndate Babu, your voice is very loud. Yeah. If there's a need to do so, please lower your voices generally. ANC?
Deputy Speaker.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
The ANC learns with shock the death of 15 alleged illegal miners whose bodies were discovered at a mining hole in Ekurhuleni recently. It is reported that 8 bodies were first retrieved in Primrose on Thursday and 7 were brought to the surface on Saturday, bringing to the total of 215. Illegal mining has flourished in South Africa in recent years as desperate groups of men put their health and lives at risk in search of precious metals. Men spend days and sometimes months underground digging for gold. Most groupings are heavily armed to protect themselves in case deadly clashes ensue, also known as zamazamas. Illegal miners are either killed by suffocation underground or die in gunfights during battles control of mine shafts. The ANC believes that people who are involved in illegal mining disrespected the rule of law. Despite a task team established in 2019 by the police minister to tackle illegal mining and its associated crimes, the rate of illegal mining is still shocking. We condemn this kind of illegal mining with the strongest contempt it deserves. We also appeal to all our law enforcement agencies to double their efforts in investigating the main ringleaders and masterminds who continues to trade in illegal gold. I thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. DA?
Deputy Speaker, despite the fact that a number of municipalities in the Northwest are still collapsing the Minister of Corporate Governance and Traditional Affairs, Minister Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, has announced that the Section 100 intervention in the province will be lifted soon. It is a shameful indictment that the Northwest Provincial Government, which has been under national government administration for a number of years, can't even do the basics, like paying their accounts on time. If ever anyone needed evidence that the ANC at any sphere of government is incompetent, Deputy Speaker, this is it. The DAS for years maintained that the ANC cannot fix what the ANC has broken. The disconnection of electricity supplies to government departments in the Northwest Province because of non-payment has effectively brought key service delivery programs to a complete halt. Dis is skreiende skande, Deputy Speaker, dat die premier se kantoor in die Noordwes, asook die departement van samewerkende regering, menslike nedersettings en rasionele sake, selfs finansies en openbare werke se krag afgesny was as gevolg van wanbetaling. Deputy Speaker, this is not all. Several Northwest municipalities, and I guess the minister is fully aware of this, are failing to service their ESCOM debt in excess of billions. A clear indication that indeed no government is left in the Northwest Province. The minister must take responsibility of what is happening in the Northwest Province, and clearly it seems that she doesn't. It is time for a well-run, financially stable and functioning municipalities in the Northwest Province, where only a DA government can rescue the citizens from a deeply divided ANC in the wild Northwest. I thank you.
EFF.
Thank you very much, Speaker. In less than 2 weeks, the early childhood development sector will officially cease to be part of the Department of Social Development and will fall under the Department of Basic Education. By the end of March 2022, at the end of the financial year, the Department of Social Development will lose 250 million because of under-expenditure. This is extremely shocking in a country with such high level of desperation and poverty, where many live without enough food. Let's talk about the 250 million that will otherwise be returned to National Treasury and used not to pay the ECD relief fund. As the EFF, we have been to many of these ECD centers, and it is shocking to see how many of them are struggling. Many of the workers in the sector have not had an income in the past 2 years and are struggling to put food on the table. It is unacceptable that half of the applicants for the relief fund did not get acknowledgement or feedback on their applications. We know we are dealing with an uncaring government, but this is a form of hate towards our people. What is worse, in that ECD sector is dominated by women, the majority who live in struggling communities. But perhaps most tragically, it is children of poor Black working class families who are left without any form of facility. Those who preside over the Department of Social Development, including the minister, must be ashamed of themselves. Thank you.
ANC.
Deputy Speaker. Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The ANC wishes to congratulate His Majesty King Misuzulu Singobile Zulu on his official recognition by President Ramaphosa as the King of Amazulu on Wednesday, 16 March 2022. The legal recognition by President Ramaphosa in terms of the law, Section 8.3A and B of the Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Act 2019. As required by the Act, the recognition of the King-elect by the President followed consultation with the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Leaders and Traditional Affairs and the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal. His Majesty assumed the kingship of Amazulu following the untimely passing honor of His Majesty King Goodwill Zwelithini in March 2021, and subsequently his mother, the Regent Queen Mantombi Dlamini, in April 2021. He is the second oldest surviving son of King Goodwill Zwelithini kaBheka uZulu, and the first for his great wife, the late Queen Mantombi Dlamini. As the ANC, we convey our sincere best wishes to His Majesty King Mrs. Zulu on the occasion of his legal recognition as a King of Amazulu. Bayete.
IFP.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Members, the rising fuel price in South Africa need to be looked at in the holistic way. The increase in fuel prices will affect all South Africans across the board, and we urge government to relook for the period under which this is globally instability regarding pricing, and finding a model that's softening the blow for all consumers. While many populist ideas only focus on the poor, the truth is the excluding other consumers from protecting against rising fuel price, which indeed end up impacting the poor. The South African transportation industry is not yet ready as yet to accommodate the mass movement of population through other means of sustainable transform like electric trains or aircraft and seacraft. We must admit that we need to really on fossil fuels, adopting a more universal strategy in addressing the fuel cost concern means that South African can then consume petrol for leisure as well as for businesses. We must protect against further job losses in the country due to slower economic fuel. Unfortunately, we have a direct impact on consumer spending and debt, which are both undesirable for industry, especially in transport industry. South Africans spend a consumable amount of their income on transporting costs due to the high cost of fuel. This is a resulting impact, the way we are able to spend money on necessities like food, water, electricity, and essentially clothing. And the impact of industry will be enormously. We must take heed of these warnings now and seize the opportunity to act proactively to mitigate the effect of further economic decline. Finally, Speaker, government must be able to honor the commitment it has made to the Road Accident Fund, as the claims of many beneficiaries have not been settled. We know that part of the fuel levy service these obligations. However, we must find a way to reprioritize our budget. The vulnerable must be assisted by government, while at the same time, government must create an environment for economic growth. I thank you.
ACDP.
Sorry, Chairperson. Deputy Speaker, the Freedom Front Plus.
Oh, no, man. It's ACDP and then you.
It's normally Freedom Front Plus before the ACDP, but I'm in your hands. I'm in your hands, Speaker.
No. Proceed.
Honorable Speaker, yesterday the ACDP together with Save the Children marched to the union buildings to hand over a memorandum to the Department of Health demanding that vaccines are not forced on children and that mandates are not thrust on the people of South Africa. I wish to make it categorically clear that the ACDP is not anti-vaccine. In protecting the hard-fought-for freedoms of the people of South Africa, the ACDP is on record, having said that it will oppose vaccine mandates. We believe in the constitutionally enshrined rights of all South Africans as contained in Chapter 2 of the Bill of Rights of our Constitution, expressed that everybody has the right to bodily and psychological integrity. Everyone has the right to the freedom of conscience, the freedom of religion, thought, belief, and opinion, and that everyone has the right to freedom of expression. Clearly, these constitutional imperatives as contained in our Constitution are irrevocable and cannot be applied arbitrarily. We must be consistent in the application of the imperatives, whether to the rich or the poor, the employed or the unemployed, black or white, vaccinated or unvaccinated. For we are just these are our constitutional, not just our constitutional rights, but also our inalienable rights. It is unconscionable that for a vaccine that is still on trial, placebos still being given, and for where it has been scientifically proven that the vaccine does not prevent infection or transmission of COVID, that this government wishes to enforce mandates on our children, our students, and the workers and our general population. Thank you.
FF Plus, it's your turn now.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. After almost 30 years of rule by the ANC and its partners, South Africa's politics has gradually moved from the prevalence of one-party dominance to a multi-party system. The failure of the ANC government, corruption, state capture, and poor governance gave rise to parties such as the Freedom Front Plus, the DA, IFP, ACDP, COPE, Action SA, Patriotic Alliance, and the EFF and others, who collectively reduced ANC support in the 2021 local government election to well below 50%. And as a result, coalition governance is likely to become a permanent feature of South African politics. This collective is a new primary channel for building accountable and responsive governments towards the 2024 general election by providing a link between ordinary citizens and their political representatives. The collective represents a broader political constituency and integrates the society into the democratic process, and is also in the process of forming the basis of political coalitions and government. Aktiewe Suid-Afrikaanse gemeenskappe oor 'n breë spektrum sal gaandeweg meer seggenskap in eie sake verkry, in teenstelling met die sentralisering van die mag van die afgelope 28 jaar, kenmerkend onder ANC bewind was. Die VF+ sal hom hiervoor bly beywer. Dankie, Adjunct Speaker.
ANC.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The ANC learns with shock the recent clash between foreigners over farm jobs in Robertson's, and it condemns the violent Robertson clashes between desperate farm workers from Lesotho and Zimbabwe over alleged competition for farm space. Tensions between the two nationals left hundreds of Zimbabwean homeless and forced to take refuge at a local police station. The violence erupted last week due to alleged discriminatory employment practices on farms, which saw Zimbabweans favored for jobs over seasonal workers from Lesotho. Confrontations in the area left one person hospitalized and 17 people sustained minor injuries, 2 of which were children. Many homes were torched. Deputy Speaker, the ANC condemns the labor brokers who keep on employing foreign nationals over locals for cheap labor. We call upon the government to urgently intervene to stop the clashes in the Western Cape and to counter the spread. We also call upon the Department of Employment and Labor to investigate if farm owners in Robertson's adhere to labor legislation and if proper procedures were followed when facilitating recruitment at their workplaces. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. ATM. They are not here again. ANC.
Not here.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The ANC appreciates the further extension of the contracts of education assistance until the end of August 2022. To ensure continuity, maintenance of stability and sustained impact in schools, the Department of Basic Education announced that the youth appointed in schools as of 28 February 2022 will be offered a new fixed term contract commencing on the 1st of April 2022 up until the 30th of August 2022. The current initiative has been providing work for about 280,000 people who were appointed as assistant on 5-month contract across South African schools. This program gives an opportunity for the youth to obtain experience while helping with the current unemployment rate in South Africa. We understand that some of the youth who were initially part of the program in phase 1 and 2 have since found employment elsewhere or registered for further studies. The initiative is doing well in assisting the sector by providing capacity to schools to manage the impact of COVID-19 on schooling and supported teachers and learners in classroom. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. DA?
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The Bike Bridge border fence has been an unmitigated disaster, and 2 years after the purported construction of what is now known as the washing line, not a single person has been held accountable. The project was initiated by a directive from Minister De Lille, which gave express and explicit instructions to the Director General at the time, who has subsequently been suspended, to appoint the contractor who had already been identified without any adherence to procurement protocols. The initial report of the SIU into the fence fiasco identified Ms. Melissa Whitehead, Special Advisor to the Minister, as the author of the directive that set the process in motion. Given that she falls under the Minister's office, we were advised that her disciplinary processes would be handled by the State Attorney. 2 years after the fence was erected, Ms. Whitehead is still earning her salary, advising the Minister, and is yet to face any consequences. The Minister has ostensibly met with various role players in this matter, but a finalized charge sheet is only going to be presented to Ms. Whitehead next week. Ms. Whitehead seemingly drafted a ministerial directive under the name of the Minister, which flouted procurement prescripts, placed the Director General and 2 other officials in a severely compromised position, and set in motion a 40 million rand joke. And she wasn't even suspended. Minister De Lille talks regularly about consequence management in her department. It appears that this doesn't apply to her hand-picked advisors. Thank you.
EFF.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, there's an old adage, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Our people can fish, but the ANC's Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment would rather have them starve to death. The Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment has yet again, unsurprisingly, failed to effect transformation in the fishing industry. The outcome of the FRAP 2021 process once again exposes a probable scaly relationship the Minister and her department has with big business. The Financial Sector Conduct Authority announced over the weekend of the 19th February 2022 that it is investigating Oceana for breaching the Financial Markets Act by issuing false and misleading information. After the FRAP results were released, the company announced publicly the lifeline, courtesy of Minister Creasy's department. The group secured rights in 5 key species for a period of 15 years. The relationship between the ANC and monopoly stand in the way of transformation in the fishing sector. The latest FRAP results show a decrease in allocations to small companies and new entrants. South Africa had a total of 930 commercial right holders prior to FRAP 2021. This has been reduced to 706 across the 9 species. There will be a substantial increase in unemployment as a consequence of the reduction in rights holders in crew-intensive species such as traditional line fishing. FRAP must be guided by the principle that marine resources are public resources, and the exploitation of these resources should benefit the public as a whole. This ANC, this minister, and this fisheries management do not care about the public. They care about the likes of those criminals at Oceana. The EFF is in the process of actively mobilizing the small-scale and indigenous fishers to collectively challenge this travesty of justice by all means necessary. The minister and her department must expect thousands of fishers ready to challenge her in court, to camp at her offices, at this parliament, and even at her home if we have to. Thank you very much.
ANC.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Alleged Gauteng drug manufacturing laboratory dismantled, 3 suspects arrested. The ANC supports efforts aimed at stamping out drugs manufacturing and distribution in communities and in our country. Our country is facing serious and devastating problem of drug abuse, especially among young people. We therefore commend the successful joint operation of search and seizure conducted by Office of the Hawk Serious Organized Crime Investigation Unit in Jamestown, Counter Narcotics, Crime Intelligence, Head Office, and the West Rand K9 Unit on Tuesday, the 8th of March 2022. The success of this joint operation is also as a result of active citizen participation, reporting suspicious acts of crime in their neighborhood. The investigation team conducted surveillance of premises where suspicious of drugs activities were reported at Adenworld in Vanderbilt Park. A search and seizure operation was executed where the suspects were arrested for allegedly manufacturing mandrakes. This arrest indicates that the ANC-led government fight crimes as well as it focus on the strategy in order to make sure that crime is combated. We call up